Hey everyone, my name is Seth. This is the Books Business Growth Podcast where we talk to Amazon sellers, e-commerce entrepreneurs and business owners about their journey, what makes them tick and why they have been successful. So without further ado, please sit back and enjoy the show. Well, hey, we are live. Hello everyone watching. Welcome to the show that didn't have a name until about 5 minutes ago, but I might call it How to E-commerce because it's nice and short and snappy, but I'm not 100% sure yet. I am Seth, and my guest today is none other than Thomas Parkinson, who is renowned Amazon seller. Over the past 12 months, he has done over £2.2 million sterling on Amazon.co.uk. He is aiming to do $1 million this year, 2022, on Amazon US. Bear in mind, he's only been on that platform for 6 to 9 months, something like that. I just checked his YouTube a minute ago. He's got just over 11,000 subscribers. He's also got an army of VAs. He runs Fast Track FBA, which helps people hire virtual assistants to sell on Amazon, which a service I have used numerous times, and it is fantastic. And thank you very much for joining me on the show, Tom. How are you doing?
I'm good. Thank you. I'm really happy, and obviously great to see you. But also it'd be great to see you in Mexico again. We could have a few beers.
Yeah.
But I know obviously you're on dry January.
Yeah. So if people don't know, Tom is a true digital nomad. He really has taken the online business model, digital nomad thing really seriously. He hasn't really spent much time in England since how long has it been? 6 years, something like that?
About 4 years. I think 4 years ago I left the UK.
Yeah, I tried to do a little bit of it last year, but I'm now back in sunny London, sunny today. But this isn't about me. Let's turn the table on to you, Tom. I'd love to hear a little bit about kind of how you first got started on Amazon, because I don't think I've even spoken to you about this. Like, what was the first thing that kind of triggered you onto it? Yeah, how did you find out about it? What was the funnel you got into? Stuff like that.
I'll give you the very short kind of like my life history. So I'm 35. I was born in Southampton, studied electronic engineering, failed, dropped out my degree. Went into bar management, worked in quite a lot of bars. I learned how to manage people, like Vodka Revolution was probably the biggest. I worked for them for a long time. I was a general manager, really good. I went into bowling alleys, quit all that, didn't like the hospitality industry, went into recruitment, learned how to source candidates. I'm a LinkedIn certified recruiter and really enjoyed the sourcing side. Like finding IT candidates. You got to learn how to like all the tag words and do kind of weird reverse sourcing and stuff like that. It's quite interesting. Which I think then led me into and then I left Norwich at the time and moved to London with my girlfriend. And I thought I always wanted to start a business. My family, my sister's got her own business. Her brother-in-law's my brother-in-law, her husband has got his own business, and I went and worked with him for 4 days. He does procurement into African mining sites, so they call him up and say, "Hi, yeah, we want like this," and he'll go call the supplier, "Hi, I want this," get the price, and then add on 10%, and then voila, give them the quote, and then they give them the money, and then they buy and ship. Really simple. And I thought, this is amazing. How can you do this? So I thought, if you can do it in Africa, you must be able to do it in the UK. Created a company doing it into procurement, into the UK public sector. Ran it for a year, hated the business, absolutely hated it. Shut it down.
Why did you hate it?
Because when you start, at the end of the day, a business is a reflection of you. Your business is a reflection of you, and you've got to love your business. You've got to love what you're doing, because my God, starting a business, you've got to put your heart and soul into it every minute, every hour, every day for the first 2 years. And only then does it maybe it might work. It's so hard. And my first year we opened up 32 different NHS hospitals, and I just hated dealing with public sector. And I just thought the whole, number one, the people I'm dealing with, the model that I'm doing and the way it was operating is very old. It wasn't very new generation. I said, I don't want to go spend the next 10 years of my life building a business whereby it's going to get replaced by something else, and then you have no value.
Right.
So, and also, oh my God, it wasn't fun. Like, I had to be on the phone all the time, and I didn't want that. I didn't want to speak to customers. I wanted to have fun and do my own thing. So I shut it down. But because at the time, we were shipping a lot from distribution and manufacture and wholesale into the NHS, buying from authorized supply chain into them through a prep center. I shut it down, but also as well, I thought, hey, if I'm doing B2B, can I do B2C? And then I looked at, what's it called? It just wasn't. I looked at eBay, didn't like the distribution model. You had to fulfill it yourself. And then I looked at Amazon, and I saw FBA, and I was like, wow, this is incredible. They hold it for you and do the last mile.
How did you find out about it first?
Can
you remember?
I think I was always aware, obviously that was probably like 5 years ago,
Yeah.
4 years ago. I was always aware of Amazon. Obviously we were buying from Amazon. I think I was just aware of it, but then I thought, then when we were aware of eBay and started learning about e-commerce, I don't know exactly, but all I remember is looking at going, the distribution model is something that I really like. Now, what was interesting is I did start selling on Amazon without any help, any support or anything during wholesale, just didn't make any money at all. Like, I started selling on listings with Amazon on the listing,
Right.
where they were the only seller, and obviously they had direct supply from the manufacturer. So while we were making like 10% like margin off it, the moment I came on the listing, Amazon crashed the price.
Of course.
And didn't give me the buy box. I didn't know about reprices. I didn't know anything like this. I was like, oh my God. So
you made all the beginning mistakes.
Everything, absolutely all the beginning mistakes. Don't get me wrong, my first year of business, we lost money. One whole year in trading, we lost money. And then what was it? And then basically the idea was that I was going to give up. I really was. My friend in my co-working space said to me, what do you think, why don't you keep trying? And I was like, well, I love the model. I love the way it works. I just can't get any profit out of it. I'm not making money. And he said, well, could you change your product? And I was like, I don't know what can I do? I've looked at all the products on my suppliers, and obviously they're like IT and stationery. Don't do it. And then the idea was that he said, what else sells? And it was coming up to Christmas. And he said, I said, well, Lego, Christmas toys do. And he's like, what Christmas toys? Well, Lego. And that's when I looked at like my suppliers, obviously like Jones's Wholesale, if anyone knows them, they sell Lego, but good luck, you're not making any money off that. But then we found like Tesco Direct. And I was like, whoa, I can actually make money buying this from Tesco and then selling it. And so started the whole transition. And then I started to learn, and I was really bad. And I started to learn all about the communities, meeting people. And, the one thing which I probably did, which was to my favor, was really just, should we say, getting involved in finding deals and then sharing them with other people and asking for feedback. So it was kind of like learning without having to buy and sell. But that's pretty much it. That's how I got started in OA. And, then I found out about all the Facebook groups, communities, and I loved it.
So what year did you start, sorry?
2017, 2018, I think around then.
So
time flies.
So similar time to me then, but then...
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, so then I remember I found you pretty much last year, I'd say, maybe like 14, 15 months ago. I kind of followed your YouTube a little bit. And from what I could see, you weren't like making astronomical amounts of money at all. And then I noticed that you kind of posted, this was when you were in Vietnam, you posted a video about doing an Anthony Robbins coaching course, I think. And then within like a few months, it seemed, of you taking that on, you started having these really audacious goals of doing, £1 million from like a much lower sales revenue kind of projection. And you kind of gone into the stratosphere recently, well, over the past year, pretty much since I met you. So I wanted to just kind of ask, like what's changed? Like, was it that coaching course that did that, or was it anything else in your life that particularly triggered that?
I think, don't get me wrong. I've been traveling. I went to Thailand for 6 months, and then I met a girl in Vietnam, and we had a relationship for 2 years. It was a difficult relationship. There's a lot of cultural difference, and if I give you an idea, she could probably speak about 5 words of English when I first met her. So it was like a really weird thing. But I learned a lot about me. I learned a lot about where I'm going in my life, and also as well, I got distracted from the Amazon business, should we say? And also when I was in Vietnam, I was quite like lonely. A lot of people talk about it, when you travel, it does become lonely. And I wanted to reach out and network with people who are very business minded and focused. And I love that. I love having those conversations. So when I started Fast Track FBA in Vietnam because I wanted to connect more with people. And the ironic thing is that when I started Amazon, I didn't want to deal with customers. That's why I did it. I hated it for my previous business. So I didn't want to deal with customers. And now we've built a business which is like running. And don't get me wrong, I wasn't earning like huge money at all. But then I felt lonely because now I'm in another part of the world and I'm not speaking to anyone. So I started Fast Track FBA because then I could connect and I can share and talk and just document what I'm learning. And I'm not nervous saying I'm an expert, but also I learn stuff and I like to share it. And my God, I would never have met you had I not put that out a lot of other people. So reflecting on that relationship, that kind of gave me the it was, I think it came from a point of pain, coming out of the relationship, coming out of like losing, like a lot of my friends in Vietnam. I was in Vietnam, but I know as, we're breaking up for like the third time or something, as you do, and you just know this is it, it's done. And I kind of reflected on my life and I was like, what are you doing? What are you doing, Tom? Like, are you doing this business or are you just kind of like doing this business? And I was like, no, I'm doing this and I'm doing this like big, like go, you go all in or you don't bother. Like there is, when you have this opportunity in life, you got to take advantage of it. And I kind of said to myself, I think at the time, and I did that Tony Robbins video. When I spoke to Tony, the kind of coaching person, I said I travel the world, I run 2 businesses, I'm not rich, I make decent enough money that I can enjoy my life, and I'm pretty successful. But I'm not happy and I don't feel fulfilled. And a lot of it was about like, I can do so much more. Like I can do so much more and I'm just wasting my life. And I was like, okay, well, and that time, Tony Robbins was $10,000 to do the coaching. I was like, my God, like, I don't know if I can afford this. And it's a one-off payment. Like it's a lot of cash to pay off. If I put that money into stock in Amazon, how much could they turn it and make it? And I went, you know what? I was like, Tom, you're either going to take this life seriously, you're going to do something, or you're not. And I said, if you're going to take it seriously, you're going to put the money down on the line, you're going to do the coaching, and you're going to make it work. Because what I understood was that, yes, money is a very important factor in growing a business. And my God, mindset's far more important. There is money out there to get. And 10 grand, you can just get on a credit card. But getting the right people around you is worth way more. So that kind of like spurred a whole thing where it was about, and I don't know the exact timeline, whether like Tony Robbins was before or after the setting of the £1 million goal, but I was going on that journey of like, go big, go home, set yourself a challenge. And my God, if you miss it, it doesn't really matter, but you've achieved so much more than you would have done if you didn't set the goal. So hence, at the time, I think I was doing like 35,000 a month, at peak, and probably 3 months prior, we were only doing 20,000, so not much. So, net that, extrapolate that over to a year, you're doing 350,000. And I said, can I do a million within, admittedly it's the 18 months. And I was trying to give myself a bit of leeway because I was like, my God, a million is pretty scary over 18 months. Like, can I do this? And it was like, put your neck out there. Go big or go home. Yeah, and it wasn't awesome. Like the fact that I had to prove it to anyone else. It was solely about I had to prove it to myself. And I knew, obviously you don't set a goal if you don't think you can do it. It is realistic, but it was about I've got to try, because if I don't try, then I know I haven't achieved anything. And it's about pushing yourself and then making achievements that makes you proud and makes you happy.
Yeah, and like I love that, and obviously, yeah, mindset's probably the most important thing. But if you have to pay for something, then that kind of improves your mindset immeasurably. Like any courses that I've bought, pretty much, I've got a monetary value way more than like I've kind of say 10x the spend on it, Great. Just because Great. It gets your arse in gear, doesn't it? And if you're required to do that, then I say why not? As you say, like if you can afford it, I'd say courses and stuff like that are the way to go, as long as you're sensible in choosing the right ones, right? And you don't just jump into something without doing your due diligence. But yeah, so I remember watching that video and thinking £1 million is like, that's an audacious, like, that's a massive goal. And then you ended up smashing through that and actually doubling it and then some. So what did you actually change within your business? Did you like change systems? Did you have to hire more people? Did you have to like how did that happen?
I think first things first, there's a saying, you can't score without a goal. So without setting the £1 million goal, we couldn't have, should we say, had something to aim for. And that's a really big common thing that I see, and I reflect to myself that I didn't have a goal, I was just doing this business. Why are we doing it? We're just turning up to make money. Okay, well, what are we trying to do? So setting the goal was probably the most important part. And then what was really interesting is that once you set the goal, then you start breaking it down. And it was like, okay, cool. Well, £1 million, what does that look like? So let's break it down to revenues. Let's break it down into, how much, we know the model, buy for £10, sell for 20. Okay, so if I know how much revenue I need to do in, across the months, I can break that down to spend. I can extrapolate how much money we're going to make in profit and how much I'm going to reinvest, and obviously where I'm going to come up short and how much more investment I'm going to need. Also, as well, then I can start breaking that down. One thing which I'll probably say is that when I was 25, I got the opportunity to open a brand new bar for Vodka Revolution, Revolution to Cuba in Norwich. And I was a manager before that, only like assistant and deputy, and I went to general. But I used to do all the finance reviews. I used to do the budgeting. So I'd had history in writing budgets. So before I opened that bar, I literally had to kind of estimate how much money each bartender was going to make per hour, work out the peak hours and then how they tail off, and then work out how many bartenders you can fit behind the bar, and then extrapolate that for Friday, Saturday, and then Thursday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then build up a picture of a week and then a month and then do seasonal variations on it. So I'm quite good with numbers, as you can probably tell, but that gave me a lot of experience in kind of like writing budgets, doing forecasting, predicting, and I use that same skill set on my Amazon business. So again, coming back, the million, you broke it down to spend, revenue, and then you could look at like how much spend does each VA make, and how many VAs do we need to generate that amount of spend, and all it is a numbers game. And then what was really interesting is we broke it down, and I did a whole video on it, even with the spreadsheet, and you can download it all. And when I looked at it, I was like, this is scary. Like, I'm putting myself out there, I'm doing a bit scary. But you know what? Because we broke it down, we talked about cash flow, we talked about how the model works, what we're looking to do. We just started working the problem on a micro level. Okay, cool. So the forecast says we need to hire 2 VAs today. Let's hire 2 VAs. Cool. The forecast says I need to get £5,000 next month. Okay, how am I going to do that? Okay, personal credit card. Right, put £5,000 in. Done. The forecast says that I'm going to need to get more cash. And interesting enough is what we learned was that I was forecasting off my old business, which was a bit rubbish. And as we went through the journey, we broke down the problem even more. Like, what are we going to need to do? We're going to need to improve our systems. We're going to need to improve our operations. We need to improve our cash flow, all the component parts. And because we took each individual kind of section, and I take cash flow, for example, I really just started to do a lot of analysis into like how cash flow works, how it works in the business, where are the problems, where are weaknesses, what can we do better, how can we manage it better? And at the end of the day, what you're trying to do, and really start to understand the model. And at a very fundamental level, the model's really simple. You have money in the bank, you convert that money into stock that you buy from your retailer or your supplier, and then that stock is now the asset value. And then that stock now goes to Amazon, it sits in Amazon's warehouses. And then once it's sold, it now converts into Amazon's disbursement account. And then once you finish the disbursement account, after 14 days, it comes back into your bank, which is the money you initially invested plus your profits. So the question was about, number one, where do we make the money? The money is when it's sitting in Amazon. The money is there. So if there's money anywhere else in the system, it's not being utilized. But then also as well, how quick we can cycle that money is really important, like time to the money. And just by kind of like doing some analysis, thinking about it for a day or two, we started to develop our cash flow modeling. I created a cash flow sheet you can download, and just that alone changed the game. We now all of a sudden we were a lot more efficient with our money. What was taking 3 months before now is taking 2 months. We're also able to utilize all the money in the bank a lot more. We started understanding what are the metrics of our business, and we started to understand what are the real drivers of it. For us right now, it's spend. While people are like, you're here to make money. Well, if you buy something today and it takes 2 months for you to sell it and make the money, that's a 2-month feedback loop. to get the knowledge of what works and what doesn't. We said it's too long. We need a quicker feedback loop. So the feedback loop we always talk about, the VA Academy, is spend. Generally, if you spend £10 or £100 and you're doing it at roughly the same ROI, the profit on £100 would be more than 10. So instead of worrying about profits and our ROI in 2 months' time, let's worry about spend today. And all we did is just really focus on all the micro parts, break down the problems, focus on them, and the net result. And I'll tell you the funny stat is, we did 18 months to achieve 1 million. That was the goal. We achieved it in like 11. So I was like, wow.
Yeah,
not even
amazing.
1 year. And then the ironic thing was I hired a new operations manager because I wanted my Amazon business runs itself. I hired someone else to run that business and my USA business for me. And then I run that one person, or I manage that one person. Now he came in and he set the audacious goal of, can we do 1 million in 3 months over Q4? And I was like, you're having a laugh.
I like the ambition.
Good luck. And then the funny thing is Q4, we ended up doing £1,004,000 over the 3-month period, which was like, wow. Oh my God, that's incredible. And I remember it was like the 29th, it was down to the wire. And he texted me, he was like, Tom, we've done it. I was like, this is incredible. And the big part of it was about, having a big goal, breaking the problem down, and constantly communicating about it, working the problem. And my team are really well aligned. We have constant update meetings and doing it all, and celebrating the success along the journey. It's been tough, but it's absolutely been amazing as well. And I've been so proud of everyone. And also as well, it's been lovely to share it with the community as well. Not in a boastful way, but like, here's what we're learning, here's what we're seeing.
Yeah, no, it's incredible to see. I love seeing your updates, because it's just, it spurs everyone on, those sort of results. So yeah, as you say, you broke it down. Like, the most important parts is kind of like your team, inventory turn rate, and cash. You mentioned personal credit cards. So do you use loans all the time, often, or how does it work?
So I don't. So I have no debt in the business personally.
Okay.
What was really interesting was when we went through the whole process, what was really funny is, like, as we started doing more revenue, obviously we started getting more credit facilities. And if I give you 2 examples, one, we use a credit card Capital on Tap. They started out with like a £5,000 limit. We now have like a £55,000 limit, which is like, wow, great. And we turn that 4 times every month. So we pay it off. We max out every week and then pay it off, max out again, pay it off, max out, pay again. And then the other one is, because we increased the revenue using business credit cards then Amazon was like, well, you guys are doing really good revenue. Would you like a loan? And the first loan came at 121,000, then 130. And then they said, would you like a £252,000 loan? And they've just offered another 251,000 now. So we can basically refinance and get some of our payments back. And my question, and what was really funny was this year we're now going into wholesale. So we're going to continue OA, but also start wholesale up as well. We want to understand that model. But we actually hired 3 VAs in like September time to start learning in the UK OA and then move over to wholesale. Then Amazon offered the loan, and we just kind of accidentally had 3 spare VAs that we could use to spend, £250,000. But I've always run my business as in, I'm always growth mindset. So it's not about maximizing profitability, it's maximizing future potential. And I understand that it's the decisions and actions I make today which will impact me in 6 months' time, maybe 1 year. So don't worry too much about making the profit today, because you will make it in 6 months to 1 year's time. And it's always been that mindset.
Delayed gratification is the key to a lot of things in life. So just going back to the loans, I don't actually know. Mm-hmm. I don't know this for sure, but apparently if you get offered one and then you don't take it up, you're unlikely to get offered again. And I've noticed on my account, I haven't been offered one for probably years now. So do you know if that's true, or if I'm not sure?
So so none of this is like fact. This is only my understanding and assumption. So a couple of things. Number one, you're likely to get, or should we say it this way? We had like a £5,000 loan and then a £6,000 loan, and then nothing for like 2 years. And by the way, we took both of them, like nothing for a year, 2 years.
Okay.
And then we filed our accounts, and then the next day, the 121 came in. And by the way, at this point, I was doing like 70,000 a month. I was like, I'm like doing good revenue on Amazon, but for some reason, they're not doing it. So interesting enough, it will probably happen when your accounts come round. The other thing was I think previously my account health wasn't in a great state, whereas now it's in a really good state. We're doing December, we did 400,000 in revenue. I don't think I have a single IP complaint. We're very good at getting rid of them, like very, very good. And also the other thing which was very interesting was that we went from going, so in regards to getting them, I think it's account health and also filing in the UK. This is, I don't know about USA because obviously UK accounts are public knowledge. You file your accounts. So Amazon reads them. And I know Amazon reads them because back in August, not last year, the year before, Amazon suspended our disbursements for 4 weeks. And the reason why we knew is because they emailed us and said, hi, Mr. Parkinson, your the SIC code, it's like something identification code on the company's house government website isn't what you told us it was. And what was very interesting is that you never tell Amazon what your SIC code is. They never ask you for it. There's nowhere to put it in at all.
Yeah.
And I was like, it's the normal one, which is like retail mail order house. And they said, and I was like, well, I've never told you this. So like, why are you asking me to say it's not right? So I just changed it. And then the next day, Amazon said, okay, cool. Thank you very much. Now we've got some more problems. But that was what they came back with the thing. So they are checking your company's house and they are making sure everything's right. And I think that you have like a 15,000 a year month threshold that they do like verification checks. I think they have another one about 75,000, which is hence why I got caught up in that and my SIC code wasn't right.
Okay.
So coming back to your question is company accounts is a good one when they do it. Make sure your account health is good. The other factor, which I'm not 100% sure of, but I do believe is true, is how much stock you're holding in Amazon's inventory dictates how much they offer you. It's a balance between revenue and stock holding. And the reason why I say that is two things. Number one, we were doing 75,000, say 75,000. Amazon offered 121, then it offered 100. Then what happened next is we then basically took the revenue from 75,000 up to 130,000. We had to clear down a lot of stock. Amazon came back and only offered us 130. They offered us a $9,000 increase on the loan. I was like, I've nearly doubled my revenue. You're only offering me $9,000 more. But what was very interesting at the time is that our stock holding had halved because we'd doubled the revenue by clearing the stock out. Is when the restock limits happened. So then what was interesting is when the Amazon came back and offered the $250,000, 252,000, our revenue had gone up to like 220,000, but also our stock holding had gone up as well. So I believe stock holding has a big impact on it. And the other reason that we did a video on it is to say that in the event that you fail to pay back your loan, Amazon stipulate in the loan agreement that they'll take control of your account and clear your stock down to pay off the debt. So hence why they're trying to
Is that what most warehouse deals are?
Liability.
Probably.
No, I don't know. I really no, because I think they just sell it. No, warehouse deals I think are repackaged.
Oh right, yeah.
They're like old, but this is like they physically you don't get control of your account anymore. They'll take it over and just sell it through normally.
Right.
To get the cash back.
So you said you're very good at getting your IP complaints cleared, because I get obviously I'm not in the UK market and I only sell books, so I don't really get. It's quite hard to get an IP complaint with a book, which is nice. But I get the impression that kind of doing OA in the UK is particularly difficult at the moment, or it's got a lot more difficult over the past 12 to 18 months with, say, toys. And I'm not too well versed in this, but I'm sure people listening who are doing OA in the UK would love to know what they can do to kind of either avoid getting them, or when they do get them, how can they get rid of them as quickly as possible?
So a couple of things. Number one, we have like the Fast Track FBA brand checker. So we internally, as a company, it's free. So you can just go on the Fast Track FBA website and check it. My team are very good at being very well aware of what's on that, and we kind of integrate into it. So I think SAS integrates into it as well. They pull the data off from us and then flag it. So we don't take the risk. They're also very well trained in reading keeper charts. So they know kind of like brands, like how to read keeper and to say that. So at prevention level, we're very good. Also, as well, I've got an admin team who are very good at getting documentation. So we prevent it. We can get the correct invoices as well. And then the other one we do is we paid for a service out of the US called Seller Basics for $100 a month. And you can send them your IP complaints and they'll write you custom letters. They keep your account health into good standing. It's a really good service. I'm going to go meet the guy actually and do an interview with him. But he's an ex-Amazon seller. But if I give you I'd say if I give you a rough statistic, I think we probably get between 1 and 2 IP complaints a week. And then we have all of them removed, and the team are amazing.
Nice.
It's like, wow.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. As much as you're spending, you're going to be getting them, right? Because customers get angry, and you're selling so much that.
Yeah, and it's not. It's not. I think to be honest, the majority of I say IP complaints. The majority of the complaints we get are like the customer's done a return, new sold as used, or this isn't genuine product, it's a fake product. Right. It's generally not us, it's not the brand coming after us, because we're pretty good at preventing that, if that makes sense, because we know the brands that you want to stay away from. But we're good, and I think we take the cautious approach on it. But again, the underlying reason is the fact that at the end of the day, you only have one Amazon seller account, and if you lose it, you can't get another one. In that marketplace, and obviously know that. So
know that all too well.
The idea is what's it called? There's an old saying don't bite the hand that feeds the mouth. So don't risk your Amazon selling account for 100% ROI product, which could lose you £1 million in revenue. It's just not worth it. Yeah,
for sure. Well, no, it sounds like you're going the right way about it. I'm trying to think of the other saying. It's the golden goose that lays the egg. Don't. What is it?
I know what you mean.
Don't annoy the golden gooses. Don't annoy.
Eat.
Yeah. Don't, either way, I don't know where I'm going with that. I should have either way. But okay, so I feel like we've dived fairly deep into Amazon. We've done a few. We've done some numbers. We've done what I want to do potentially with this podcast is I don't really want to just be talking about Amazon. I want to be talking to mainly e-commerce entrepreneurs, but I want to kind of tease out the skills that you need to become successful in e-commerce or any other business. Because I feel like I sell books and I show people how to sell books, but I don't think that everyone should sell books, because I feel like everyone's got their own path and everyone's completely individual. Even within booksellers, there'll be some booksellers that specialize in, say, selling Bibles and comics, and some people that specialize in textbooks, right? So because of that, I want to teach the high level, or show people what the high level skills are to do well in business. So I'm hoping we could start with maybe have you always been entrepreneurial? Or do you think that an entrepreneur is born, or do you think an entrepreneur can be made? Because I side with an entrepreneur can be made, but I always got annoyed when I watched the video of Gary Vaynerchuk saying all entrepreneurs are born, and it just annoyed me. And that might have actually been a good YouTube video for me to watch, because this was before I started my Amazon business. But yeah, if I can put that to you, what do you think?
I think it's a really interesting question, and I think that the question I kind of throw back at anyone would be, do you believe in destiny? There's people in life who are like, well, what will be, it will happen if it happens. And my mindset on it is we live in an amazing world, an amazing time that's never had so much opportunity. And if we want to take advantage of it, we can. And the really funny thing is you get people who kind of I don't know, they have a job and then maybe they lose that, they go through a job for up until age 40. Then all of a sudden they go through a crisis. And then they lose everything, their family, the divorce, everything, and then all of a sudden they have a big change, and now they go on to do a business. And I think all you got to look for is one example of where that happens. And if you can prove one example of whereby someone who wasn't entrepreneurial to start with and had something happened and they changed, it's to say that it isn't something which can be born; it's something which can be developed. You just need the right motivations and driving forces. You might even have a car accident, and it's all about how your brains work and who you are. So I firmly believe you can develop this if you want. But I also put that with a caveat, is to say that people ask me, Tom, I want to start on Amazon. My first response is don't.
Why is that?
And they're like, why? And I'm like, just don't do it. You're going to fail. And 90% of all businesses fail after 5 years. You're probably going to fail. You're going to a lot of money. You're not going to make money. You're going to waste a lot of time. Get a job. It's easy. It works. And interesting enough, if they come back after 6 months and be like, Tom, I did it. Screw you. I'd be like, fantastic. Now I'll help you. because most people either want to do it, aren't willing to do it, or they're willing to do it and they kind of start and then give up. And what they don't realize is that it's a bloody hard journey and you're probably going to fail. But knowing that, if you're still willing to do it, and by the way, you got to be willing to do it for like 12 hours a day, 7 days a week. Like, it's just incredible. Then you're probably going to make it. And why? Because you are going to fail so much, and you've got to be able to fail and then keep going and do 40 hours of work of 40 hours of work a week of failure and 40 hours of work a week, which is valuable, and then you'll probably get there.
Yeah, it's like you said at the start, you made all your mistakes to begin with the wholesale, and you didn't know, selling on an Amazon listing that they're just going to lower their price and all that sort of thing. And yeah, a lot of people don't realize that's in a really simple way, that is kind of what business is like, learning every single mistake to make, and then making sure not to make that mistake again, right? So don't make the same mistake twice, and then you should be golden, because then you've kind of eliminated every wrong way of doing it. So by you should be able to do it right after that. But in theory,
even you say that yeah, and I think even you say that there, but you look at all the really successful people. The one thing which they understand is that they don't know the answers, and they're still always learning, because the environment we're operating in is always changing. It's a dynamic environment. And what's really funny is you meet those people who think they know it, and yeah, they're doing really well today, but give it 10 years, they probably won't be as successful, because they're not adapting. And I kind of throw that back as when I come back, and we talk about get mentors. We talk about Tony Robbins coaching, do all that, and even just in that world, there's a lot of con artists. There's a lot of rubbish information, and how do you choose the right one? There is no simple answer, and you've got to fail to be able to learn, and that's the thing which is really hard. I've tried, I've done it for 2 years, I failed. I want to give up. You're like, no, not at all. And the thing which I say, and as much as I talk about this in the negative aspect, I talk about it like I started a business 5 years ago. I shut it down. I started this one. We made a loss in our first year. Probably the second year I did I barely survived, and then we did okay. And then we did all right. And now only this year have we done really well. That's 5 years, and we've done 2.3 million in the US, and even if you're operating at a 5% margin, that's £100,000 net profit, which is fantastic. And obviously we'll continue to grow it. But I think the question you need to look at isn't oh my God, that's too much. You're like, what? There is no job that you can get today that in 5 years' time you're going to go from nothing to earning 100,000, then maybe 200,000, then 400,000. In 10 years' time you're going to be earning $1 million a year. That's just 10 years.
Yeah, no job's going to give you that progression.
Life. Never. But the ironic thing is that when you look at the distribution of results versus effort, it's the first 3 years are just nothing.
Yeah.
It's the amount of effort you have to put in for next to nothing back. And all your friends are telling you, why are you doing it? Don't do it. You're stupid. Go get a job. I'm driving around in my Mercedes or whatever. Yeah. And you're like, I've got a bigger vision. I know where I'm going, and I know that if I put my head down for 10 years, I'll get there. But it's going to be a tough journey. Yeah, and they're the ones who make it.
It's nice now that your friends probably look at you now and think, wow, he's living the dream life. But as you say, 2 years ago, they were thinking he's crazy. That's definitely what happened to me. But this brings me on to a question that I was going to ask you anyway, but you've nicely kind of segued into it, talking about, 3 years with not much to show for it. So what drove you through those 3 years to keep going, and what drives you now?
So the first 3 years, if I give you a really good example, I left Rocker Revolution and I went to work for Hollywood Bowl, and in a bowling alley, and I was 27, I think, at the time. Don't quote me. And I still remember to this day, and I still remember that time. I was living in Norwich. I was earning a 40 grand a year basic at age 27.
That's a lot of money. Especially back then as well.
Yeah. And I was earning, I think my biggest paycheck was something my biggest bonus was just shy of £20,000, because it was profit related, and I turned the business around and we did a really good job. So I was I was earning damn good money, really good money.
So nearly $100,000 a year at almost, yeah.
And do you know what was really funny was I was earning really good money, but then part of the operations, because it was a bowling alley, was that we had like a morning manager and a nighttime manager, and I like to be very involved and I'm very hands-on. And the morning manager, what do? They come in, they count the money, and then at handover, they both count the money together, and then at nighttime they count the money again. And we're not talking much money. We're talking like £15,000, but you've got to think like a lot of it is in pound coins because it's an amusement, bowling alley and amusement arcades. We had something like £1,000 in pennies, and admittedly they're in bags. You weigh them, and I just remember sitting there like I was like probably about 3-4 months into the job, and I was like, right now, I like to think I'm reasonably intelligent. Not today, but back then. I was like, I'm reasonably intelligent. I'm pretty successful. And what am I doing with my life? I'm spending 2 hours a day counting pennies. I was like, I'm better than this. And it's not the fact that I'm above this, I can't do it. No, not at all. It's like, I can do so much more. This isn't fulfilling me. I want to like solve problems and do fun stuff and like make an amazing life. And I was like, do I want to be in 5 years' time counting pennies? Like, hell no. And for me, that was like, this isn't what I want. This isn't how I see my life. This isn't where I want to be. Like, I don't mind not earning good money. I don't mind, like living a great lifestyle, but I want to be challenged. I want to have success. And that might be like you're solving problems. And I love that. So I just kind of knew at that point that I wanted to do something more. And then, so I changed career and I went into something else, my very first office job, recruitment, and absolutely hated it. I hated being told what to do. And I tried to tell them how to do LinkedIn recruitment because I learned how to do it. And I tried to teach them how to source.
But they loved that.
No, they didn't. I fucking hated it. Sorry, language.
That's fine.
And my it takes me back to my college days. My computing teacher told my dad, he's like, your son knows more about computers than I do, but I know how to pass the exam. And I was like, well, that's just stupid.
Yeah.
Because I just didn't care. And immediately I got a D on my computing. But what was really interesting was that what I learned was that I wanted more out of my life. And then number two is that I wasn't very good at listening to direction. And I wanted to figure out problems. And I always thought I could do better. So then it came to a point where it was like, especially when I started my journey and when it was tough, was like, I kind of said to myself, I was like, Tom, you've wanted this. Now you've got to prove it. And, I failed my degree at university and I came into bar management, and I had to, and the reason why I got a very good job very quickly is because I knew I couldn't fail bar management. Because if I'd failed my degree and I failed bar management, the next job they're going to look at your CV and be like, so Tom, you look a bit of a failure to me in life. I'd be like that isn't an option. So like when I came into my business, like those first years, and don't get me wrong, like traveling didn't really help because you just kind of go out and get pissed, and alcohol kind of like really makes your kind of like you can just like drink your sorrows away, or if you're not doing so well you can just go and do something else and you're on a beach, it's fine. But when we kind of did that £1 million goal, that was like go big or go home. You cannot. And I think when I was in Thailand, it was a I won't lie, I got drunk for like 5 months, 6 nights a week, like till 4 o'clock in the morning. It was a mess. My business suffered from it really badly.
Nice.
Very reason why we're not making good money. And then the one thing I kind of thought about was that one day I'd wake up, have to go home and get a job, and someone would be going on holiday to Thailand, and like my boss would be like, "Hey Tom, didn't you used to live in Thailand?" And then you go, "Ha, yeah, but you lost it all, didn't you? You had the ideal life and you failed." And I'd be like, that can never be allowed to happen.
Yeah.
So I think.
Yeah. No, sorry, go on.
We get, in life, we have kind of either we have pull factors, things that are pulling us forward, and things that we're kind of like pushing us or running away from. And for me, is like failure is not an option. I don't care how hard I have to grind, but like that is never going to happen.
Yeah, I think I definitely came to that point in my office job. I was just like, I hate this so much. It's so dull. I'm so unemployable. Mm-hmm. I hate my boss, like everything about it. And then I just thought with Amazon, I actually can't fail at this. And I remember I got in such a terribly leveraged position with credit cards. I was probably £25,000, so $35,000 kind of in the hole without much to show for it. And then my UK account got banned. So I wasn't sure if I was actually ever going to be able to pay that money back. And then luckily I managed to turn a corner really quickly with the book because it just clicked for me. And it sounds like kind of similar with you. You kind of it was just an ultimatum. There's like no way I could go back. But what's nice about what you said is you were kind of, it seems like you you are up for taking a pay cut, right? Whereas a lot of people have got too much of an ego, or they're just too scared to take a pay cut because it is scary, right? But also their egos won't allow them to go from, nearly $100,000 to potentially less than half that. So it's commendable.
Way less than half that.
It's commendable that you kind of did that. But I know so many people who just aren't capable of that, just because they wouldn't be able to they wouldn't be able to go for a drink with their friends without kind of feel like they're getting judged for either leaving the job or I don't know.
And hey, interesting enough, like if I even put it in perspective now, like even last year, the first half, I was in Cancun, and also I came and met you in Playa del Carmen. But during that time, I literally lived in my apartment, and I probably worked a good 12-hour days for like 5 days a week. And I lived in Cancun for 5 months. I went to the beach 3 times. This is like people's dreams. And the thing was that my business was in a good place, but I was still very operationally hands-on. And what I understood is I had to get myself out, because I wouldn't be able to sustain this. I get bored just doing it all, and I understand me. So I had to find and hire 2 operations managers, one to run the Amazon business, one to run Fast Track FBA. And I had to spend a lot of time with them. But I was willing to sacrifice everything, the beach, my life quality, and don't get me wrong, I still had money at that point. The business is successful, but you do what you need to do. That's it. There is no option. This just has to be done. And it's like, are you working a weekend? I'll come out and see my mates. Sorry, I'm working today. That's it. Unfortunately, your business today takes precedent, because then, the saying is, do today what others won't, so tomorrow you can do what they can't. And that's the whole point.
Yeah, delaying the gratification. And
yeah, agreed.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you do just have to go monk mode. I feel like life goes in phases, right? Sometimes I feel like you, for me anyway, I need to go through like zones of introversion and zones of extroversion. So at the moment, I'm going to go through a monk mode, because I feel like I've gone for a big mode of not being a monk, and that's the way it goes. But I feel like we should talk about virtual assistants a bit more, because I know that is something that propelled my business. I'll do a little bit of background of how Tom and I actually met. So last year I went to Dubai for New Year's, and I hated it. Didn't like the place at all. While I was there, I booked a flight to Mexico from London, and I was speaking to Emily Knowles, who's a fellow Facebook group owner, and she said she'd spoken to Tom and said that Tom was in Cancun, and my flight was direct to Cancun, so I thought, oh, that's a pretty cool coincidence. I messaged Tom, and then the rest is history. We kind of met up, and I've hired 3 VAs through Tom, and yeah, here we are. And the virtual assistants have completely propelled my business and my life. And my freedom, the amount of hours in my day that I have, I would not be able to have, be able to create this podcast. I wouldn't be able to do anything else really, because I was hands on deck all day buying books. So I know there was a question in my Facebook group a couple of days ago, kind of asking, at what point should you get a VA, or what point do you know you should get a VA? And I know that I got one probably 2 years too late, and I'm so grateful that I've got one now. But yeah, if I put that question to you, like, when do you think people should think about getting one, or when's the right time, if there is a right time?
Hey, I still remember we met in the co-working space in Cancun.
Yeah.
And I listened to your business, and I was like, you're crazy, man. Like, why are you doing that? Like, this is simple. Just hire someone to do it. And then you did it. And then you're like, wow, I'm now earning more money and working less. You're like, this is crazy.
Yeah, it's game changer.
You were working like 12-hour days. You were working a lot.
Yeah, it was pretty full on, and obviously that it's kind of, you see the money coming into your account though, or whatever, and you just think, well, this is more money this is 3 times more than I made in my finance job in the city, so I'm going to keep doing it. And I was scared to that's probably something that's good for people to listen to. I was really scared to give away my secrets, B, I just liked the status quo. And I was scared to hire someone, really. Like, it's a big change, isn't it? It's a big thing to introduce a new brain into your business, and someone who could maybe criticize you, or and it's a lot of work as well. Let's face it, teaching a team member, even if you've got the fantastic training that Fast Track provides, you still need to train them into you still need to get on with them. You need to like coach them. You need to speak to them really often. There's a lot to it, and this is the first time I've ever ran a team or even hired anyone. So I guess it would be cool if you could give a few words on like how to approach it. And I don't know, you're the master of VAs, so you can bear down some wisdom upon us.
So I think if I just give some stats, like kind of where I'm coming from. So across 3 companies, we have 62, don't quote me, it always changes, 62 VAs across my 3 companies. We have 4 full-time recruiters and 1 HR manager. So like we kind of have always ongoing job requirements. So like people are coming in all the time, and I'm not really 100% sure. And obviously I only have 2 direct reportees. So that's kind of my thing. And obviously I've had teams for years now. And obviously being a bar manager, I've hired thousands. As a company, we've hired over, I think now probably 400 VAs for our clients, for like 190 odd clients. It's quite a wealth of experience. But admittedly, we only do one type of VA. And I think really directly coming back to your question about, when's the right time to hire, a couple of things to consider, and I can only really give it in regards to like an Amazon VA, is that when you're talking about like an e-commerce business, is that what does a VA do? It finds you, or they find you opportunity. If you can get admin, I probably wouldn't recommend doing that, because admin doesn't add value to your business in regards to revenue. And what you want to do is you want to grow the revenue and the profits, and then you can go hire an admin VA with the profits. And if I give you a very good analogy, you talk about the difference between the rich and the poor. The poor go out and buy a car, the rich go out and buy a house, which makes profit, which pays for the car. One creates a liability, the other one generates an asset, which pays for the liability. So what you're doing is you're creating an asset through hiring a VA, and then they cover the cost of the admin VA. So just to come back, so in an Amazon business, what are you doing is you're basically cycling money to make a percentage profit off it by reselling products. So for you, what you want to be doing is understanding that I've always got money in the bank that I can't use, because you don't have enough time, enough deals or something like that, but you got a problem. And the problem is I've just got more money than I can spend. How much money? Well, I say a minimum of about £4,000, 5,000 US, ideally about 10,000. If it's about 10,000, you're in a good place. Now that's okay. Now I've got the resources to invest in my VA, not to spend on the VA, but my VA will find me products. And I've now got the capital to invest in those products to cycle them through the Amazon loop. And then the next thing to think about is, once you've got the capital, is to say, do I have the time to train? So, Seth, you talked about it in regards to like, it does take a while to bring them up to speed. It does take a lot of effort. You've got to like teach them how what your business is, the way you work. Your Seth business. Even if Seth, you did the same model as me, your business would be different to me. So doing the same or teaching that, and how much time? Well, I'd say at least an hour a day, but ideally 2 a day you want free. And if you can't spare 2 hours a day, you shouldn't be hiring someone, because it's not going to need that for the whole of the time, but to at least the first 3 months, you're going to need about 2 hours a day. That's how much I would try and allocate, and then you can really start calming it down. Now, if you a lot of time you will calm it down more than that, but you need less time. Should we say like you'll come, you need an hour, 2 hours a day for the first month, and an hour, and then like half an hour a day, for example. But always overestimate your resource requirement, i.e. your time, and then obviously, well, hey, I got some spare time. Now I can go listen to Seth's podcast. So that's the thing. You got enough money in the bank and you got time to do it. And then also, I think also setting expectations is a really important one, is to say that do not even expect them to add a single ounce of value in your business until after 3 months. And then even then, the value is kind of like, they're okay. The real value starts coming 6 months, 1 year. And if I put it in perspective, we have a metric within Fast Track FBA that each VA should be spending on deals about £5,600 a month on stock in month 3. So it means in month 3, they've spent 5 or 6, they found enough deals that you can spend £5,000 to £6,000 on those deals within the whole month. Now, my VAs who have been with me longer than a year, they're really motivated, they love what they're doing, they're smart. Our record holder, she's done 30,000 in 1 week.
Wow.
Like
That's a lot.
that's like incredible. I was looking at the stats just today. I was talking to someone else before this call, and I was like, we're probably doing like right now in January, and there's still sales. It's not brilliant, between like 6 to 12,000 a week in spend per VA. So like what they're doing in a month in month 3 is what they're doing now in a week after year 1 year. So it shows you that their value starts really increasing over time, and it doesn't stop. So
so it's a long-term play. You got to be patient. They're an employee like anyone else. You got to think that you were an employee once, and
of course,
you're obviously a little bit scared of your boss or a bit anxious about the role. So I being patient is totally key. I knew that from being in your Facebook group for the FBA, the Fast Track customers. My first virtual assistant wasn't buying books very consistently for the first few weeks, just because he was really cautious and really shy, and he treated the spend as though he was spending his money and my money, and he didn't want to make a mistake. But then once he got over that hurdle, he's now incredible, and he buys exactly as many more books than I ever would. So yeah, that's just a key thing for people to pick up on.
And that's an interesting thing. And the thing I'll point out there is because there's a question you asked earlier on. It's like you're either an entrepreneur or you're not. And like you're the guy you're talking about there is like your team member is buying books. Like I don't think he was ever born going, I'm going to be buying books from Amazon in America. Like no, he learned that skill, and like it was a hurdle. He overcame that hurdle, and now he's amazing. Like all this is just hurdles in our life, and we solve them.
Problem solving.
And it can be done. Exactly.
That's
and with the right environment, the right people, the right support, it will happen.
Yeah. No, I like it. Okay. A couple of questions for you. I said earlier about wanting to talk about kind of the skills that you need to have to be an entrepreneur. And we kind of touched on a couple, but I just wanted to ask you like directly what one or two key things you think are really important to be successful and build a profitable business.
So when I do my Tony Robbins coaching, the one thing my coach always asks me is like, what do you want, Tom? What's the result? So being very result orientated, not just doing, like I talked to you about my first like 2-3 years of my Amazon business, but like, we're just selling on Amazon, But the moment I said 1 million, we're making this happen, that even by your own admission, you said that you were just like someone selling on Amazon, and all of a sudden this year it's gone boom. Being very result oriented and very crystal clear about that. Being able to, I think it's having vision, like being able to see where you want to be, and then being relentless in the driving towards it. You use it monk mode. I love that. I thought it was absolutely brilliant. And I think also as well, because you have that vision, you can then do you've talked about it quite a lot this time, delayed gratification. And I talk about it in Fast Track FBA, and I talk about it, because we're a service business, we serve our customers. And my ops manager said, "Oh, Tom, I'm going to write the budgets." I'm like, "You can write the budgets, but I don't really want you to focus too much on them." And the reason is the fact that the money we make from the business is a result of the value we bring. It should never be the driver. So, if you think about it from entrepreneurial, it's like the success I have for my business isn't what I'm going for. It's because I'm making my business successful. That's what I'm trying to achieve. And because of that, I then make money and I have a great quality of life. I'm not doing it to make the money. And I think just making sure your values align with what isn't monetary performance will allow you to have a better drive, and you'll be long-term successful in that respect.
Money doesn't make you happy. That shouldn't be the main goal unless you are money orientated. Some people are, right? And I don't know, like you're Wolf of Wall Street kind of individuals, and that is what drives them, making money. But not that many people are that way inclined. I mean, I thought it was really interesting earlier when you said how you kind of started Fast Track FBA almost just to be sociable. Yeah. Which is very interesting. Like, obviously, most people start a business because either they're really passionate about something, or they want to make money, or a bit of both, or they've just fallen into it, or like someone's shown them the way. Whereas you've kind of found it via a bit of a different route there, right? I've never spoken to someone who said, I was a bit lonely, so I've started a successful business, right? It's kind of worked out all right.
Yeah, and I think interesting enough, like, so obviously you're doing this podcast now, and I'm sure one element of it is to network with other people and to 100%. Learn and to discuss. Like we love having those conversations about business. The bad thing about traveling is you do meet people doing businesses, but they're generally at kind of more of a freelance gig style. They're not kind of bigger. I appreciate you can go to a lot of, I've been to a lot of cities, especially here in Mexico. There are people running great businesses, I don't deny. But it's having those conversations. And I think for me, if I want to be in those conversations, I've also got to put myself out there and share. So, and it has, since starting Fast Track FBA, I've been invited to do a lot of things since the YouTube. Even today, had I not started that business and started having those conversations and sharing, I would never be on this podcast today with you.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I mean that is one of the main reasons I've started this. It's a challenge, but it is a networking thing, and that's why I don't want it to just be based on arbitrage or Amazon, because I want to learn what other people do, like how other people are making money on Shopify, any other eBay. I want to speak to people who are smashing it in all corners of e-commerce and beyond. So we shall see where it goes, but that's why it's great to talk to you, because you're someone who I look up to in the Amazon world. Like, who do you look up to in the Amazon world?
So it's really interesting. I look at
or the e-commerce world, I guess.
Yeah, so in the Amazon world, the two people I really kind of look at are Amazon Lit and probably Watch Me Amazon in regards to the US wholesale. They're doing really big numbers.
Yeah, huge.
But then I always take that with a pinch of salt. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that they're not successful. My God, they're way more successful than me, and they're working so hard. But I met Eric from Amazon Lit and did an interview with him, and he talked about it on one of his podcasts, on his Instagram lives. He was like, he worked so hard, he had a problem with his foot, and he kept working, and he nearly lost his foot. And there is there's a balance between working super hard, being super successful, and obviously having a quality of life. And for me, I really take that on board. And yes, I want my business to grow, but I don't want it to grow at the detriment of, I wouldn't even say my health, because I'd say for me that's a given, but even my happiness. I'm not willing to earn more money if it's going to mean that I'm not as happy not to be as peak happiness as I can be. But I think, when we look up to people, is I just kind of look around, I meet people traveling as well, who are just doing really cool things. And I think, I think generally in the world, we've come from a world whereby people have been very money focused, and that's it. Whereas I think now we're going into a world where people are still earning money, doing good money, but also as well they're balancing that with a great quality of life. And for me, that's about traveling, experiencing, doing some super cool stuff, and I think at a fundamental level, in 5 years' time, I want to look back at it might be my Instagram feed or my YouTube or my Facebook, and be like, Tom, you've lived an amazing life. And it's that kind of when you're on your deathbed, are you going to look back and be happy with it? And if I'm just earning money, no. But if I'm traveling the world, meeting cool people, doing super fun stuff, failing at salsa dancing, then that is cool. And I just want to have fun. That's it. And hopefully that shows through in everything I do, and I can reflect on that.
Yeah, that brings me back to an Instagram post that you posted I think quite recently, where you said something like, people ask me why I don't have a warehouse, and it's kind of seems to be exactly what you just said there, because I could make more money, but my goal isn't to make more money. I'm guessing to have an optimal life balance between money, fun, contentment, satisfaction. And for that, you just don't need a warehouse, because freezing your arse off in some warehouse in Minnesota or wherever it is probably not the most ideal situation, I can imagine. It might be fun.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, 100%. I think, let me put it this way. Obviously right now, I live in Mexico, and if I wanted to tomorrow, I could go jump on a plane and fly anywhere in the world, obviously COVID restrictions pending. And it would have minimal impact upon my life, and I could go live in that country. And what's, if I put it in another perspective, when I was younger, I noticed something about the job market. When I was in university, my first job at university was bar management. I used to run Southampton University Student Union kind of halls bars, and my family are from Southampton. And what happened was, I worked there for 2 years, and then there was no more opportunity for me to grow within where I was, and also within Southampton. And what I realized is that if I wanted to grow, I had to leave my hometown. And my parents were like, Tom, my dad, sorry. He was like, you're getting a final salary pension scheme. You should stay there. I was like, I'm 23.
Pension?
What am I
40 years away?
Yeah. And I was like, no, not at all. And I was like, and it's for me to grow, I have to get myself out of my comfort zone, but I have to go. And the one thing which I kind of, saw within the kind of, in the world is that unfortunately, jobs don't go to where people are. People have to go to where jobs are. And if, depending on where you live, you have a shortage of, you have an oversupply of jobs or an undersupply, and the net result is that you earn more money, etc. And so, if you are willing to make the sacrifice to go where you need to be, you can have a much better quality of life. But if you want to stay where you are today, you will just get what's around you, and unfortunately, a lot of the time that isn't that great. So I really learned that lesson, and I saw that around me, and then taking it back to where I am today is like a warehouse. Yes, it could look. Look, we've got to be very careful. A warehouse, in theory, at my current operation, doing nothing else, could make me more money because I'm reducing my costs. But at the other level, what I'm actually doing is reducing my ability to go meet people, and learn from them. And we talked about this earlier on. I do Tony Robbins coaching. Seth, you talked about it, like meeting people, spending money on like courses, masterminds, and stuff. Your ability to network is multiples of things. It isn't
priceless, really,
like a warehouse. Yeah, a warehouse is a linear kind of like profit improvement, whereas being able to like go meet Amazon Lit, go meet Eric. They do 50 million a year. Pick his brain, take him out for dinner. My God, that one meeting could mean that over the course of my life, I make an extra like 10 million pounds, or like I might make an extra million next year because I just learned 2 or 3 things. And freedom, flexibility, and the ability to go and chase down the people who are being so successful and have very interesting conversations with them just could change your life like you'd never imagine. And I value that. And hey, my God, you get to travel the world and go to some cool places as well. Who doesn't like to do that?
It's win-win. Yeah, no, I think that's such an important point, though, because it's almost like, I don't know if you read that book 0 to 1, but no. it's like you're saying a warehouse is a mechanical kind of geometric improvement in your business. Yeah, you're going to see in your balance sheet at the end of the year that you've made like nice gains, and your cost of goods have gone down. But if you put yourself out there in the world, you don't know if you're going to get something that's going to literally 100 or 1,000x your, not only your business, your life. There's so many different ways that you can improve via putting yourself out there. And I've realized that with building a Facebook group, and hopefully podcasts will do the same thing. And I assume your YouTube channel, everything that you do is kind of led towards, you're letting the universe put luck in your favor. I think that's probably a nice way of putting it without putting people off who don't like to go a bit like meta with the universe and stuff. Don't want to put people off, make people think a bit crazy. But I don't know. So today we've talked about where you're at now. I'd love to know where you want to be kind of at the end of this year and also beyond. Like, what's I know we've spoken about this before. You don't necessarily have plans beyond a year or two, but what end of the year and then maybe a bit further on, if you could let us know what you got in store.
I think what life has taught me, especially kind of like creating that goal, has been, the £1 million goal, is that, okay, so go back. I set a goal for 1 million and I was scared that I wasn't going to achieve it. And we absolutely smashed it out of the park. And there's a saying is like, I think Bill Gates said it was like people underestimate what they can achieve in 10 years and overestimate what they can achieve in 1. And I think with the ability to manage teams, modern technology, and also networking like you've never believed, I think it's now like we overestimate what we can achieve in a month and underestimate what we can achieve in a year. And and I use that example as the 1 million as an example. So hence why, like, I'm 35 now. I turned 36 in March. For me is like, I believe I've got about 4 years where I can just go hell to leather. And I don't want to put it out there, but I think achieve some amazing things. I mean, like literally, like if I were to say it now, people would be like
you've got to say it then. You've got to say it.
No. But I think like personal achievements, personal goals, living a great life. And I think also as well, I've always kind of had this goal where it's like get to 40 and then there's a thing which I really started off with back in, oh my God, I must have been like 25, 24. The question I was asking myself was like, if money wasn't a problem, what would you do? And so we're not saying like you're super rich, but like let's say for example you had £3,000 or £2,000 a month coming in. What would you do? Well, if you'd covered your basic expenses, I might not do this. I might go become a painter and go live in the south of France, for example. But what's really interesting by asking that question over and over again is you start to understand, what do you really want? And then the idea is to try and start aligning yourself with that. You might not be able to do it completely, but you might be able to do some of it. And just because you're doing some of it, you'll naturally get better, and then you'll start to achieve your goals sooner. And the net result of that kind of thinking was, the subsequent question was like, I talk about now, get to 40, like you're done. But then the next question comes is, well, once you get to 40 and you're done, then what? Well, I'd probably keep doing what I'm doing now. So like, why stop? But I would do it differently. I love business. I love talking about business. Yes, I would calm down dramatically. I probably wouldn't be doing as much hours. I'd probably just enjoy life a lot more. But I think the real question is I really love what I'm doing. I love this space. I love being part of it. I love talking to people about entrepreneurship and learn about businesses growing and all the amazing things in the world. But I think for me, between now and the next 4 years is to go hell to leather to the point that after that, I can really calm down. But, hopefully multiple 8-figure businesses
Nice.
operating within the next 4 years. I think that's quite realistic.
Love it.
And then even in this year, like we talk about it in just in the more short term is a couple of things that I'm seeing. So we did 2.3 million in the UK. December we did 400,000, and we've literally had a linear growth. So 300,000 is about what we're talking baseline. So with this line, this year we're looking to do 3.6 million in the UK, i.e., we're saying we're not going to grow anymore, which is really interesting. Like, yeah, we're going to do like 3.6, but that's no growth. So we're forecasting zero growth.
Right.
Looking to we did like 170,000 in the US, so we'll do 1 million in the US and OA. Also, as well, we're starting wholesale, so I'd like to do 1 million in wholesale in the UK as well this year. That's going to be a challenge because we're still figuring out the model. And then we'd like to open up Amazon Germany as well, and that'll probably be like, I don't know, if I could do 100,000, I'd be happy. That'd be my 5th business, I think. Fourth business. And then also as well, travel. And we're talking about this is, this year I've got a lot of travel plans. I'd like to go drive the US for 3 months. One of the advantages is, I had a dream. When you're a kid, like I'd love to go on a road trip. Like, what's the ultimate road trip? For anyone who doesn't live in America, it's to drive America or maybe something else. So originally it was obviously to drive the south coast of Europe. But then I thought, why can't I do America? Why can't I go interview people? Why can't we go hire a convertible Mustang and do it in proper style? And running a remote business allows that dream to come true. So I can do it, and I've got remote teams, and I can still work and travel, and that'd be like an amazing life. It's like one of those, I've done cool shit this year. Like, that's amazing. And then the other one is, because we're doing so much revenue, we're spending so much, is we're making so much spend on our credit cards. We get so much cashback, not cashback, but Avios points and Amex points that, go and live an amazing life. And, I was talking to you off air and like how we're going to go stay in some five-star hotels for like next to nothing. It's incredible.
Pretty awesome. Yeah. People
I think,
are going to be, sorry, go on.
I go back to that point whereby, I think the real question is not when I'm dying, but like at the end of this year, I want to look back at this year and be like, damn, man, you've done some cool stuff.
Yeah.
And I go back to see my friends every Christmas, and we go for a pint down the pub, and you know it. You go, how's it been? It's like, I haven't seen him for a year. How's it going? Oh yeah, kind of the same. And they're like, what have you done? You're like, well, I've been to Colombia, I've been to Mexico, I've driven around the USA, I've done stayed in 5-star hotels, flown first class. We've grown like an extra 4 million on our revenue. I've doubled the size of my company. You're like, whoa. And by the way, we've all had the same 24 hours in the day.
Yeah, so, but some people must be listening to this and thinking, wow, like this is amazing, this is cool. But like, how do you juggle all those things? Because it sounds like you've got so many things going on, and yet you're still able to travel and stuff. Is it just a matter of you've just hired well and you've kind of siphoned off all the duties? Like, I don't know.
So it's a very fun, I come back to my coaching. My coaching's been profound. When we did the £1 million challenge, I did the £1 million challenge, and then I did another kind of video afterwards, which didn't get much traction, but it's quite funny. It was like the 4-hour work week, and I was like, I want to do £1 million, but I don't want to do it in 40 hours a week. I want to do it in like 4 hours a week. So the question is you put resource constraints in, and what was really interesting was that when you start challenging yourself, and as business owners, our job is to solve problems. We just get problems day in and day out. So my thing was about how do you make £1 million business, and how do you do it in 4 hours a week, Tim Ferriss style. And then you start really getting very, very clear about what exactly you have to do. And we know it. We can spend all day doing. You reflect on your week and go back. What did I do last week? And you actually really break it down. You're like, my God, I spent like half the time doing nothing. So once you start really understanding, there's only actually a few things which really make a big difference. 80-20 rule. It's like, my God, just focus on that. And I've learned really well through coaching and also just experience is to really define what they are, to how to track them, and then how to manage, support, and train a team to make that happen, and also make it happen without me. And the simple way is by going, okay, well, in the Amazon business, for example, our measure of success is revenue and profitability. What's the one before that? Well, that's spend. So what am I going to do? Well, I'm going to just track spend, and I'm going to talk about spend. And how do I get my team to want to spend more? Well, I'm going to build an incentive scheme in about spend, and we're going to talk. They're going to talk about spend, and every day they're going to report spend, and we're going to do this. And then the next question is, okay, how do I get so I don't need to be part of it? Well, we'll get them to recognize who does the spend, and we do everything. We create a great culture. And all you're doing is just asking great questions. Tony Robbins talks about it. Like, you want to change your life, ask better questions. And that's it. That's all I'm trying to do is just ask better questions in my life.
Yeah, I always found that really powerful when I read, I think it's Awaken the Giant Within. That always stuck with me. It's all about asking better questions. But yeah, no, that's super interesting. I'm just trying to think what else I'd like to ask you. Oh, actually, here we go. This is one I wanted to ask you. So obviously we've heard, a lot about you, and it seems like you can take on anything you want. And that's the impression I get from you from, going for beers with you, speaking to you now. Is there anything that scares you? It seems like you can take anything on,
So I'm very optimistic. I'm very optimistic. And do you know what's really funny is the fact that, like, I'm optimistic, and when I'm optimistic about something, I look at what we can potentially achieve. And I come back to the million because it's a very quantifiable number. And I'm like, it scares the hell out of me, but I'm optimistic we can do it. And then do you know what really makes me laugh? It's the fact that we smash it out of the water, like absolutely smash it out of the water. And then I learn from that, and I'm like, Tom, have a big dream today, think a bit bigger, and then you'll probably smash that out of the water. And I say that to anyone, and the reason is because the human potential is like limitless. And we come back to like, just it's really hard to kind of quantify, but like the idea is to say that you can achieve anything.
Yeah, we're only limited by our mind, kind of.
Exactly. And I say it to people now, they're like,
physics as well.
Yeah, but I say it to people, they're like, oh, I don't think I can do it. I don't know, it's like, maybe I can't hire a VA, I can't grow a business. Like, oh, I could there's probably someone now that I could never grow a business and grow it to $1 million. I'm like, while $1 million sounds like a big challenge and growing a business sounds like a big challenge, like, it's nothing. It really isn't. And the reason why I say it's nothing is because I'm trying to put it in perspective, not for the fact to tell you it is nothing. Like, no, it's a big challenge. Of course it is. But what I want you to think is that, like 50 years ago in the 1970s, someone had a dream of putting the man on the moon, and they managed to do it with less technology than your mobile phone. And that was just someone had an idea. And what did they do? They used all the resources. They found a way. Now, I'm not saying that one man could do it. No, of course not. He couldn't. But what did he do? He was very resourceful. So when someone now is thinking about, I could never do $1 million, you're like, yeah, you're right. You probably couldn't do $1 million.
With
it doesn't
that
mean
mindset.
You couldn't find a way.
Yeah.
But you could find a way to do $1 million. And that's what you need to be asking. Not, could I do $1 million? No, but is there a way that it could be done? Now you're starting to change the question. So, I'm very positive. But I think, if you kind of look at coming directly back to your question, right now I'm trying to learn salsa dancing, and I absolutely hate it because I don't understand the music. It's one of my dreams. I think about a better quality of life, and I had this dream that one day I'll retire and I'll just go sit on a beach in maybe the Mediterranean or somewhere beautiful, drink sangria and just dance salsa for the rest of my life, because it's healthy, it's beautiful sun, you get to like dance with beautiful women, and what could be better?
Sounds great.
And you stay, and so I need to learn that skill, but I'm not good at it, and because we don't really learn salsa music in England. But the idea is that it's a real challenge for me, and like I've been quite successful in my business, but this is something really hard. And the one thing which I've really learned about it, and I've actually learned it from people who are running other businesses. I've met digital nomading who learned Salsa, was that they really, not so much Salsa itself, but the people who are successful are always pushing themselves to find something they can't do. And why? Because by failing in one area of your life humbles you in another area and makes you not so like complacent to say we can do more. There's more opportunity here. Not like, yeah, I know it all.
Takes your ego down a notch as well.
It does. And my God, I've walked out of social dances. I've had a dance with a girl, and I said, I'm really sorry. Can we stop here? I just can't do this. And I've literally gone home and been like, I've been so angry with myself.
So you do get frustrated that you're not better at it than you think you should be, or that you'd like to be.
Yeah, and I'm not comparing to anyone else. Like, I'm not like looking at another salsa dancing and I need to be better than them. I'm like, what I'm frustrated at is I'm like, you can do this, but I can't do it yet. And the thing about it is like, but I will learn it. That's not optional. I will solve this problem. But I'm so frustrated.
The mind is willing, but at the moment the body is not performing the way you like.
The body is failing miserably, and my ego is taking the biggest hit you've ever seen in my life. But
as you say, it's probably a good thing, because it's
100%.
You can't be good at everything as well, can you? Not everything can go your way.
Agreed. And then what's really interesting about that actually is like the salsa thing is that by going through that journey, I'm actually learning more about me and how I learn and how I deal with rejection and what I do, and then I can use that in my business.
Everything's connected.
Exactly, yeah. And for me, and if I could put it really in perspective, is that I was going to. I'm not going to lie. Okay, I've been to like 150 salsa classes. 150 salsa classes. I started in Vietnam. I did like 6 months, 3 nights a week of that. I was doing it in Cancun. I've done it in so many places. But the underlying fundamental problem was that I just couldn't understand the music. I couldn't get the rhythm. And because I couldn't get the rhythm, I couldn't do any of the moves on top of it. Right. But it's only now I'm starting to learn the rhythm. And do you know how I've done it? I've been standing in front of a glass mirror, listening to music, watching myself dance for like an hour a day for like 30 days straight. And it's the most crazy thing ever, but it's like I'm doing what I need to do to get the result. But the interesting thing is that I learned through that whole journey that for me to learn, my ideal learning environment has to be fun. If I'm just having fun, I will learn all day long. So I hired a private teacher, and then out here it's like £4 an hour. It's incredibly cheap. So I literally have private lessons, and I'm just like, have fun, Tom, relax, take the pressure off, relax. And ironically, by having fun and just doing private lessons, my salsa experience has really improved. Whereas I couldn't do it in the class because I was too worried about everyone else watching me.
Right. Okay. So it is kind of an ego thing then. You need to be on your own.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
I need to, and I said it to my salsa teacher, I need a baseline level of competence first. Once I've got that and I can do the basics, then I can build on it very rapidly. But without the baseline, I just don't, I feel a failure in life.
Well, it's nice to talk about salsa so it humanizes the force of nature that Thomas Parkinson is a little bit. We've been going for an hour and 22 minutes. So selfishly, I'm going to ask you, who do you think I should get on to speak to? And then we can wrap up possibly.
What are you looking for?
To learn something. I don't know. I really don't know. That's what
I've asked. It's a really hard one.
Yeah.
My God.
I thought I'd throw it on you just because, I want a kind of a wide range of different.
Because my question isn't like, who should you get on? I could just name people, but then the next question is why? Why?
Yeah. Obviously, you can't say someone just like Arnold Schwarzenegger. So I want it to be someone who's, in the space, but maybe kind of a big goal. I want to do someone that I've met. Yeah. Well, that would be good as well, because then you can introduce me.
It's really hard. I don't know. And the reason is I'm trying to think about someone who's got a very interesting view on the world and something which brings value. And I'm not saying like I've met so many people who are super interesting, but it's kind of like because I've not thought about it, and obviously I'm not in the mindset right now. I'm thinking, I hate to say it, I'm thinking about me. I'm not thinking about anyone else.
Yeah, sure.
Because you're asking me questions about me. Is like, I'd like to give you someone whereby I can say you should interview this person because I love how they view this. This isn't how everyone else views it, and I think this is amazing. And I think that's something that people don't even explore or think about. And because of that, I think it would add real value to other people. Whereas a lot of people do kind of talk about the kind of the normal things, which you kind of hear all the time. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. There's, the old adage, it works. But I think also as well, seeing the world in a different light is very fascinating and how you view the world. Can I come back to you?
Yeah, of course. Instead, I'll ask you another question. No, that's absolutely fine.
Go for it.
You can message me. Yeah, I'll ask this question instead because I don't think I've asked you. But like, what is your definition of success?
Happiness.
That's quite
100%.
But happiness is. They always. Well, I don't know. I read in a lot of books and listen to a lot of podcasts that say you can't chase happiness though because you'll end up not. Being
Not at
happy.
all. You can't.
So it's a bit of a dicey term though, isn't it? Like happiness is a bit dicey.
No, agree. But what you can, okay, so there's something you need to think about, and I talked about my managers is like they talk about like how do we create an empowered and how do we create an empowered team? I'm like, you don't create an empowered team. What you do is you create an empowering environment, and naturally the empowered team happens from that. You can't create the result, but you can create the environment around it. And so when I bring it back to like happiness, you can't create happiness, but you can create an environment whereby happiness naturally flourishes. What I'm not saying is you need to be a multimillionaire, no, but obviously you've got enough money to survive and you're living within that means and that's enough for you to be happy with. You've got a great network around you. You feel like you're growing as an individual. You've got relationships, communication, with people that you love. There's fun things going on, and you feel challenged, but also as well you feel that you're enjoying life and you're making the most of it. And also it's balance. It isn't like I'm going out and partying 20 nights a week, no, or I'm working 14 hours a day. But everyone's idea of happiness is different. And what I do firmly believe is you can create that environment whereby it naturally happens. My God, am I happy all the time? Hell no. See me salsa dancing sometimes and I'm like about to cry. But more often than not, I am happy. And how does that come across? Seth, you see it. I post on my Instagram the most like I'm taking the piss out of myself stories all the time.
Yeah.
And there was hardships in, even like when I was around the UK, traveling in the UK, I drove like 2,000 miles in 2 weeks, met loads of people. That was hard, but there was so much fun in it. But I was willing to go through the hardship, and that wasn't a problem of like 4 hours sleep driving, so many miles. But I just had so much fun, and we create those environments, and I think about understanding that, and it's okay not to be happy all the time. That's not what's expected, but like. For me is, put it this way, if I wake up and I have a smile on my face for most of the day and I feel blessed to be alive, that's all I want.
That is a great way to finish up the podcast, I think. Awesome chatting to you. Let us, could you let the audience know like where can they find you? If you want to plug anything, I know you've got some great spreadsheets and obviously you've got Fast Track and whatnot. Let us know.
Anywhere, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter. We're even on TikTok now.
Oh,
I haven't
wow.
posted, but I have an account. Fast Track FBA. That's it. Just have a look there. You'll find a lot about, not just me, it's more about the company, but obviously I share about what the company's doing and, I do lives and stuff. So, that's about me.
Fantastic.
Fast Track FBA.
Yeah, Fast Track FBA. Everyone check that out. There's loads of goodness on that site and on all the socials. Thanks everyone for listening and watching. And thank you very much for coming on, Tom. Very happy and grateful that you have made the time.
Thank you. And I look forward to seeing you in Mexico soon.
Okay. Ciao, ciao.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for tuning into the show. If you've made it this far, you may as well leave this video a like if you've been watching on YouTube. Please subscribe and hit the bell icon for future episode updates. Or if you've been listening on Apple Podcasts, it would be absolutely amazing if you could leave us a review, as that makes a world of difference. Thank you again, and I'll catch you in the next one. Ciao for now.